all believers have the same purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Make disciples.
Mm-hmm.
Make his name known.
Mm-hmm.
That's the purpose.
Yes, sir.
Your assignment is supposed to funnel its way into his purposes.
Yes, sir.
But we're in such an entrepreneurial atmosphere where we call our entrepreneurial assignment God's purpose.
Which at our base nature, as human beings, we seek pleasure and avoid pain. Or I'm depressed and it's never going to be better. I don't want to be there. So when you talk about contentment, what I think we're talking about is the ability to hold tension.
I mean, why would Paul, who's healed a bunch of people, tell Timothy, take a little wine for your stomach?
That's right.
Because you know you got stomach issues.
Right.
Bubble guts.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When you become a Christian, you're a rock. But inside of you is an image. I'm going to keep it a buck. I feel for this generation, the level of sexuality, the way cats moving now. You had to work to hit it.
Oh, you did.
But
and now
nowadays
you don't.
You don't even need porn today.
Please don't push me.
Please don't push me, but y'all push B. Now we got dwellers from Cali to Flatbush B. Now they got heat on they feet that say press B. And now we so deep in the streets, y'all can't stress me. Can't curse me, then bless me. I'm crucifying my flesh, that's less me. SAT'd from preaching, can't test me. Atheists are now believing, that bless me. Yeah, we got the basement replacing any of those worldly pursuits that y'all chasing, any of those trials and tests that y'all facing, any of the relationships that y'all changing. We rearranging, making the shame shift, giving Satan back what's his. That's the blame shift. Rise up and walk commands. That's the lame shift. Cheat codes for living this life. That's the game shift. All on Yeshua, man. The rest is manure, man. I'm dying daily, so I rise up a purer man. Pressing B daily, so my sins looking fewer, man. Washing the blood, so my sins down the sewer, man. Yeah, so press B with me, and let's let whatever gon' be just be. Yeah, so press B with me, and let's let whatever gon' be just be.
For the people that don't know you, and then let's just catch a vibe. Like, I'm down to go wherever.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Like this $10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fool.
Dr. E, you mind making the microphone center to your...
Yes, sir. There we go.
I mean, you sound amazing.
I just want to make sure I'm doing this right.
You're doing it absolutely fantastic.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Cool beans.
On you, Pop, whenever you're ready.
Oh, me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Did you already pray? Or I'm sorry.
Lord, bless the pod in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I'm so used to one of them doing it. So even though I did it, I mean, I have a prayer life. I'm just saying.
That's great.
Welcome to the basement, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Tim Ross. I hope you're all doing well. I love you guys so much. Shout out to all of my dwellers all across the land. I hope that you all are having a tremendous day. Thank you so much for pressing B. Thank you for being a part of this lifestyle, this philosophy, this movement. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you to all of my dwellers. Shout out to all my B-siders who have literally pressed B, downloaded that app, and you are a part of this broad family that literally wants to turn vulnerability into normalcy in culture, where people are fully seen, fully heard, fully known, fully loved, even if they're not fully agreed with, because 4 out of 5 ain't bad. Love you guys so much. Hey, listen, I'm so hyped. I met this man last year at a conference. Knew of him already. Knew of him already, but hadn't met him. Met him and was just like, yo, he's cool. Sometimes you meet somebody, I call it green room energy.
Hilarious.
You know what I mean? Like when you go to conferences and stuff, you see everybody in the green room and everybody's feeling good. You know, they got a word from the Lord. But because of my introversion, green room energy doesn't work on me. So like, even if I'm in the green room, I'll be like, stranger danger. I'll be like, I know we're both on the same docket, but I'm not going to talk to that person. I get strange vibes from this person. I didn't feel this way about this man nor his wife, and got to hear his message and was like, oh yeah, no, this dude is about that life, and you don't need long to tell who's really about that life and who's not. So I want to present to some, introduce to others. This might be a 3-hour pod. I don't know when the vehicle comes to take him back. He might have to just talk his way on into the car and just go back to the airport. But he is the pastor of Epiphany Fellowship Church in Philadelphia. And he's a theologian. He's a great preacher, excellent Bible teacher, theologically sound. That's one of the reasons why I bought him, because I just love his brain and love the way he thinks. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Eric Mason is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go! Let's get it!
Hey, I'm glad to be here, brother. The brethren.
I'm so hyped, bro.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm grateful to have you here, man.
Glad to be here, and I'm glad you launched this platform.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I prayed for you, you remember?
Yes, sir.
Before the platform
You did.
made its way.
You did. You did. Absolutely.
Yeah,
man.
I'm glad, honored to be here, man.
Thank you, man. It means the world that you came through. For the people that may not know who you are, and the reason why I always ask this question is because a lot of people find out who a person is through a platform like this or a conference, or they catch a video of you, and the I think it's a subconscious thought that they're not aware of, but people assume where you are is where you've always been.
Yeah.
And that you came out of the womb forged
Hilarious.
for this,
Right.
So I would just like you to give us some context to who you are and how you got to where you are now.
Amen. Well,
That is Bishop Eric Mason has just stepped
I'd like to just let y'all know that. Yeah, man, husband of one wife.
Yeah, huh? That's important.
ECI Bokanda, yes, sir. But now, a husband of one wife.
Yes, sir.
Husband of 4 living children.
How many years?
We will be 27 in December.
Oh, let's go. We just made 25.
Yes, sir.
Let's get it.
Sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. It feels different after quarter century.
It does, man. It does. Absolutely. Yeah, you know something else. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, man. So I grew up in Washington, D.C. during the crack era. Heroin, then crack era. So.
Derek, what's going on, brother?
I was taking a little quick taco break. But let me tell you, guys, Dr. Mason, Tim Ross. However, you gotta pull up to the BSIDE app. We're inviting you to grow. No ads, no nothing. Just community, first dibs on live events, which is coming. And the most important part, you get to grow with us. Pull up. Let's get it. Back to my taco.
You know, the heroin was the 70s.
Yep.
You know, crack just lit the
80s. Oh, dude.
Up just like
it was snowfall. I was in Cali.
Yeah, you was in Cali.
Yeah.
We was on the worst coast.
That's right. You
know, in the sense of drug. I mean, Chicago had its issues, but LA and DC, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So grew up in that era, was raised by people who were 50 years old when they had me.
Wow.
So I grew up I was one generation separated from slavery.
Wow.
So, and so I grew up around a lot of senior citizens.
Yeah.
Which I felt like, I don't know what it did, but everybody called me an old man growing up.
Yeah.
And so I grew up in Washington, D.C., was in public school. My mom saw that crack hit the street. She was like, nah, you going to Catholic school, bro.
Wow.
Now, you got to understand, this is before schools had uniforms as normacy. So when you go in the hood and you the only kid.
Dressed like Farnsworth Bentley.
Alexander Vanderpool from Boyz II Men.
Yes, sir.
It's basically both of them.
That's exactly right.
And so, man, I got talked about. It was crazy, but my mom, there was a method to her madness.
Yeah, for sure.
know? and my pops was a numbers runner, numbers runner. Street dude.
Yep.
Always had a pistol.
Yep.
But
for sure.
he was a World War II veteran, Korean War veteran.
Wow.
When he came back and got called nigger when he got off the ship, and this dude infantry got wounded in both wars. He threw his Purple Hearts in the trash. Wow. Yeah. When he was a kid, I'm just giving you a little context for my upbringing. My dad was beat down by the police in the Jim Crow South in the early 30s. It's probably 1931 at 8 years old, where they say he stole 8 suits because he used to tailor at 8 to help bring money in the house.
Yeah, for sure.
And he ironed and pressed, and then 8 suits came up missing. And so he went home, and and it said 8 suits came up missing. They assumed he did it. Came the police, took him, and beat him. And my grandmother, they said, blank, if you get in the way, we'll kill you. They took him to the police department, beat him down. My grandmother ran to her boss's house where she did days work.
Yeah.
To beg him to go and stop the police from killing my son. So they get to the police department, and she screamed because she couldn't recognize him. So her boss said, "What'd you say the boy did?" And he stole 8 suits. He said, "How tall is he?" He said, "What is a blank boy?"
Yep, absolutely.
At 8 years old gonna do with 8 suits? And they said, "I guess not," and they let him go.
Hey, dog, don't do that.
And so
I guess not. I just want you to keep your same energy.
Yes.
Don't acquiesce to the reasoning.
Yeah, so that's what raised me.
Yeah, man.
So I was raised by a woman, godly woman, but she had multiple baby fathers.
Okay.
I honor her still.
For sure.
And then my dad, I have a Japanese brother,
half
half Japanese, and a half Italian sister that I've never met.
because he was on his. Yeah, he was on a tour of duty.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So
And
so I was raised in the post migration era.
Yep.
Of the Northeast, in the inner city of Washington, D.C.
Yep.
I take pride in that. So ended up going to college to get out of D.C.
For sure. Okay.
Not for education.
Just to get out of D.C.
Just to get out of D.C.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So ended up, I always had a learning disability, so I didn't know how I was going to do because they told me I could not learn.
Interesting.
Yeah, several teachers.
Yeah.
And but something happened when I got saved. The lights just went on, and I liked education. Plus, it made sense now.
Yep.
Because they don't do education in a way that makes sense to kids.
No.
Like, kids don't learn accounting.
No.
How to fill out an application. How to build a business.
Right.
They're learning math doesn't even make sense.
Right.
Like, what you use geometry for?
Nothing.
Thank you. So,
Absolutely.
So you know what I'm saying? So so for me,
I don't use it for nothing. Yeah.
So when I got to college and I began to get into my major and different things, and I was a psychology major, I began to love education.
Yeah.
And I didn't like reading, but when I started reading what I was interested in, everything turned. Then
that's everybody.
I trusted Jesus.
Yep.
And I got radically saved. I was in a fraternity, and I was super zealous. So I denounced my fraternal letters at that time, and which I believe I was supposed to do at that time.
Yeah.
Threw away all my CDs.
You
know what we do.
Yeah. I did the same thing.
I threw away Big Daddy Kane.
Oh, yep.
Mr. Prince of Darkness. I
remember this. Yeah.
I threw away all the things.
Yeah.
And was preaching on the campus. I would preach, and so. And make a long story short, when I got my calling, went to Dallas Seminary, came here to Texas, and so make a long story short, me and my wife was dating at the time, and we got married and had our first child passed.
Oh my gosh!
So, but my wife was sick, so so my wife is a survivor. She's been through 2 liver transplants. So she got one in 2002 here. And she got one in Philly a few years ago, and she's been through 7 bouts of cancer. And so our household has saw some crazy stuff. My son just had brain cancer, a brain like cyst a few years ago.
Yeah.
He's good now. Some other stuff I won't mention as far as health stuff in my family. So
Yeah.
we're a family that has experienced a lot of medical trauma.
Yep.
I was just arguing with my wife about it last night. I'm keeping it straight a buck.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I was like, there's some things about our trauma we need to even further process and work through, because we went through, that type of trauma, medical trauma, but we've also been through lost 2 children, child loss trauma.
Yeah, for sure.
Then, and then going through ministry trauma.
Yep.
And so, but a lot of that, we're on the better side of a lot of, particularly the ministry trauma. We're well on the better side of it now, but just working through that.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I think that's what we are. We're trying to, find our new way in this season where she's not as sick as she's been. And so, and so just trying to find
That's a different way to live.
It is, because I married her and she went in the hospital.
Wow.
You understand? So
that's been y'all's normal.
Yeah, so out of our marriage, she's probably spent, if I put all the time together, she's probably been to the ER 250 times, and probably has spent a year of our marriage in the hospital if we put all the days together. And so that's been our marriage. And then I have to fight my fidelity when the shop is closed.
For sure. Absolutely.
You feel me?
I bet you I do.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we talking about a high-driven testostericity.
Yeah.
Ishio.
Man, you got 6 syllables out of that, and I'm impressed. I am so impressed. Yeah.
Yeah, and so all of that's an introduction to me. Oh yeah, I pastor a church in Philly.
You do that as well. You do that as well.
I run an organization called Thriving. It's leadership development. It's beyond leadership development now. It was an urban leadership development organization. Now it's a remnant development organization.
Okay.
And I wrote a few books.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the way you toss that out at the end, it's like, go read these books and then see if it's worthy of him flippantly saying, I wrote a few books. There's a few people that should say it like you just said it, but not you. Okay, so this is I appreciate you giving us this backstory, because it lends to what I find to be the reality of Hebrews chapter number 11, right? Like, after you get through the definition of faith and all the people that use the faith, and then I don't know if the Hebrew writer had to go like get lunch or something, had to wrap up for the day, but he was just like, I don't know, snap. Time doesn't afford me to talk about the rest of these people, but Samson, Jephthah, and then he was like, they conquered and they did this and they did that, and there's no clean break, and it just goes, but some were killed by the sword and wind up having to be destitute and wearing goat skins and wandering around. Right, sawed in two, like all sawed asunder, right? Right. And so I love the narrative that you just presented is that kind of narrative. It hasn't been I gave my life to Jesus after doing crack for 18 years and got shot 5 times and did a prison stint. But then I gave my life to Jesus. And when I tell you, we moved to the suburbs, and then the Lord sent me my wife, and I have great kids, and they've been reading devotion since they was 3, and now they're virgins, and they're both 22 and 26, and God's doing a new thing. Like, I like that one. This testimony, like, we don't hear these a lot. You know what I mean? Gave my life to Jesus. I started preaching, and my life hasn't been a bed of lilies.
What's ironic is when I was in I was my last semester of Greek, and we had to pick a subject in the New Testament to write on. And I just couldn't figure it out. And my professor said, what about suffering?
Wow.
He said, nobody in all my years of being a professor ever. We had to write it on Romans, a subject in Romans. So I said, okay, I'm gonna write a chapter called The Role of Suffering in Sanctification. And I'm like, why am I writing this?
Oh my gosh.
And I literally isolated every single verse in the New Testament on suffering, but pungently focused on how Paul talks about sufferings in Romans 8. And I found out that a quarter of the New Testament was about suffering. And I began having these, I found out that Paul, this was the strangest verse on suffering in the New Testament was 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verses 11 and 12. He goes through, now Nero is lighting, he's oiling down Christians, impaling them and lighting them on fire for his camp.
That's right. As torches.
You understand?
Yep.
And he tells them, Paul says, he explains everybody's going to get it one day.
Yep.
Not today.
Yep.
Then he prays in verse 11. This is the weirdest non-charismatic prayer in the Bible. He says, I pray that God will count you worthy of your calling while you're in the suffering. So he didn't pray for deliverance. He prayed for God to maximize his sanctifying work within them while they were yet in it. And I said, that is strange. I would be mad at my apostle. If he didn't get the oil out, lay hands on me, I rebuke every spirit, every demonic. I cancel the assignment of Nero, bring down his king.
That's right. That's what we do.
That's what we do. He did not pray that.
Wow.
Then I found another verse. I think it's Psalm 4, verse 1. David says, answer me, O God, when I call, because you have delivered me in my distress. I said, that preposition didn't say from.
That's right.
It said in it.
Yeah.
In other words, God can keep you in something and give you a sense through whatever, peace, whatever you want to call it, that you're not as in it as you're in it, even though you're in it. And so I was like, why am I learning all of this? Like, what is this for? And here I come. I'm in premarital counseling. A shout out to Dr. Anabuchi Acho, the only guy I know that had 2 NFL players come
from his loins. From his loins.
I'll let you say it.
Yes, sir. From his loins.
What in the world, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Shout out to Sam and Manny.
Yep.
So I'm in premarital counseling. He counsels us for 6 months. And he's real Nigerian.
Very. I've had some sessions with him.
I mean,
very Nigerian.
Candid.
Very.
He says, now, Eric, you know that Yvette is going to get very sick. Are you sure you want to marry her?
Wow.
He said, she's a virgin. You were out there. You all need to talk about what you're used to. And then the shop is going to be closed at times. You're going to, I'm like, the heck is going on? And it was good discipleship.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely it was.
It was good shepherding.
Yes, sir.
Because he dissected not only who we are and what we've been through, but I'll just call it prophetic counseling.
Yes, sir. He knew what was coming.
Yeah, he knew what was coming. And you are going to have to prepare yourself, Eric, for an abnormal marriage. He said, unless God heals her, you are going to have a very abnormal marriage. And I'm 24, bro. I'm 23. I don't understand what he's talking about. I don't know suffering.
Right.
I've been through this. And that wasn't what, that was child's play.
Right.
You know, and so And so as I began, when we got married, I had to work through, particularly when we lost our first child. When my wife had our daughter at 6 months, she was stillborn, and I came into a crossroads with how I felt about God. I said, God, I've done everything your way. I trusted Jesus. I gave up stuff. I came to him, and I was petty. So please, y'all, forgive me for my pettiness. I was like, you got people out here having all kinds of sex, and they can have 50 children. And I know I wasn't no virgin, but at least, I'm trying. Now you can't give me mine. Not mine gotta die. And so I had to work through one of the deepest things. Well, the first of things that I had to work through with God. God says, somebody said, Eric, you gotta be strong. I remember I heard that. And something about it pissed me off. And I was reading 2 Corinthians. And God says, I don't work through strength. I work through weakness so you can get strength. I said, look at God. And so that was one of my first practical, not paper.
Right, for sure. And not Jesus glitter.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
That was my beginning of the practical lesson of suffering, but also, and I'm not glorifying suffering. Please don't hear me. I do believe God delivers and heals. So don't hear me saying that. But you have to have, Christians don't have a good theonomy. We don't have a good understanding of the problem of evil. We don't. Because when you tell somebody said, if you don't get healed, I said, if God always heals, then all the apostles and every believer should still be alive.
Lord have mercy.
I said, so we believe God healed, but we have to have a balance of having a ferocious faith.
Yes, sir.
That involves healing or being under.
So I refer to it as the "but if not" clause.
Yes.
Right. It's Daniel 3.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
King Nebi. Our God is able to deliver us from your petty threats, and your 90-foot statue, and your Uncle Luke music. I think it's the first face down, butt up.
Oh,
in
the Nebuchadnezzar, that court was lit.
It was lit.
Like 300 wasn't far from. Now that was Persia.
That's right.
But
this wasn't far from this.
But the Assyrians,
That's
they
right.
were killing people and having orgies.
That's exactly right.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I'm like, this is pretty consistent.
Yeah.
But that statement is the tension that we have to hold. Our God is able to deliver us.
He is.
But if not, we still ain't gonna serve you.
It's dangerous to not teach healing and suffering. Got to teach both.
Yes, sir.
You got to teach the ability of God, but you got to also teach the application of sanctification. You have to.
Yes, sir.
Because if you don't teach both, people can commit apostasy because they don't believe God exists, because what you said he always does, he didn't do. And it's dangerous to teach that. And so, I mean, why would Paul, who's healed a bunch of people, tell Timothy, take a little wine for your stomach?
That's right.
Because you got stomach issues.
Right.
Bubble guts.
Right.
You know what
I mean, I guess that's exactly what it was. Yeah. He did have the bubble guts. He did.
Oh man. Yeah, man.
Oh my God.
And so and God told Paul no. Gee, more Christmas.
All right, so I'm working on my next book. I told you that my ghostwriter was here. We had to chop through some stuff.
Yeah.
And 2 Corinthians 12:9 is like it's my life, right? Like this is where my vulnerability comes from. All of that is from 2 Corinthians 9. Therefore, I now glory in my weaknesses, my infirmities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My persecutions, my tribulations, my trials, all this kind of stuff. But the Holy Spirit dinged me over the head one day about the response Paul got to his, I prayed 3 times, and here was the answer. The answer doesn't come from Gabriel. The answer, those letters are in red. They come from Jesus. Jesus makes this statement, and okay, it's a beautiful statement. My strength is made perfect in weakness. My grace is sufficient. Okay, thank you, sir. But then the Holy Spirit's like, you missed it. Jesus was the only one qualified to answer Paul. Because he's the only other person that prayed 3 times for something to be removed or passed.
Match it up, preacher.
And he didn't. So Jesus comes himself to say, sir, I empathize with you. I've also made a request 3 times for something to be removed and or passed. I'm giving you something I never got. An answer.
God will God will allow, or even put you in situations where you have an opportunity to resent him or trust him. I give you an example when David resented God. Remember Uzzah?
Yes, sir.
And they had the Ark of the Covenant on a new cart.
Yes, sir.
What was supposed to be carrying the ark? The Levites. But they was innovative.
Yes, sir.
You feel me? Now Uzzah, he trying to be.
Hey, slow down. Slow down. Don't think I didn't hear what you just said. I'm not gonna let you do it. Okay? So this is a good time. Please don't lose your place. This is a good time for me to calibrate this conversation through my lens, okay? So y'all indulge me as I break this down. As these 2 men sit here before you, or just in your ears if you're listening, I consider Dr. Eric Mason to be Apostle Paul, right? He's a theologian. His mind and his brain has gone through the intellectual rigor of higher education. You heard him say, my last semester of Greek. I've never said that in my life.
Hilarious.
I didn't finish my last semester of English. So I consider you like an Apostle Paul as a theologian, and I would consider myself Peter. Okay. And not in like you're better, worse.
I understand what you mean.
It's like the God needed the apostle who had a deep grounding in theology. He's going to write all the books and help the church really get their mind around stuff. Peter can write a couple of epistles. They're good. They're good epistles. There's nothing wrong with it. Pew pew. He
hilarious.
He licked off 2 shots. I think they were good. If you read, Petey has a good deal. But what the Pharisees said about him and John were true. These look like ordinary men.
Yeah.
These are some regular dudes, but we can't deny they've been with Jesus. Or else they wouldn't be talking this bold.
Right,
we want them to shut up. They tell us no.
Right.
I guess they're just gonna keep going.
Right.
So this one of the reasons why it was so important for me to have you here is because stuff that I say just sounds better coming out of your mouth. And there's and there's like more theology around it and framework around it that I just don't have. I simply just don't have it. So I just needed to make sure our audience understood that.
One of the things I like about what you often do is you got a good recall.
Yes, sir.
You got a good Bible recall, bro.
Yes, sir.
That's a Full Metal Jacket.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You
Thank you.
understand?
Yes,
So
sir. Yeah.
I mean, even in our conversation downstairs and even now, you're rooting stuff
Yes, sir.
that you're saying in scripture, which is dope.
Thank you, man.
I don't get that much
Yes, sir.
these days.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately.
So man, Uzzah reaches out to stop the cart from falling, which, you know, seems like an admirable thing.
Yep.
But if they would have did it in God's order,
Right.
he wouldn't have had to do that. God kills Uzzah and David resents God.
That's right. Yep.
And in our life, those opportunities for resentment is how are you going to feel about me and how you're going to move with me. When I don't do what you expect or what you want me to do, how are you going to respond to me? Today, in this feeling, manifestation culture where people just can feel like they can make whatever they want happen, and you think that is God saved you for you to be able to manifest what you want to happen. What Bible are you reading where you believe you can tell God what your assignment is?
Yes, sir. You're not reading it. Yeah, for sure. You're not.
You know what I'm saying? So not that he doesn't give us room within the assignment for planning, like Proverbs 16 talks about.
Yeah.
Innovation and that type of thing. But at the bottom line, I talk about this all the time. We gotta separate purpose from assignment. I tell people this all the time. All believers have the same purpose. Make disciples. Make his name known. That's the purpose.
Yes, sir.
Your assignment is supposed to funnel its way into his purposes.
Yes, sir.
But we're in such an entrepreneurial atmosphere where we call our entrepreneurial assignment God's purpose. But his purposes are done. Like when somebody say what the church's vision is, I get kind of irritated because every church should have the same vision.
The same exact vision. You can say it a bunch of different ways. It better be the same thing. You can say it in Swedish.
Epiphany Fellowship exists to,
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but at the end
love
of the day,
God, love people. Okay, it's the same.
And so the question is, really, we're really our mission statements is strategy, not vision. You know, and so
it's our execution.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. This is how we do it over here.
Yes, this is how we do it over here.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and so that's important. So, but back to what we were just talking about, I think we live in an era where it's going to be a lot of pruning surrounding purpose.
Yes,
and
sir.
What I mean by that is God is against prideful creation of self-image. Now, I'm not talking about clothes.
Yes, sir.
One of my favorite verses in the Bible, Romans 8:29, he said, he predestined you to be conformed to the image of Christ.
Yes, sir.
I got this thing that I always talk about. I had a sculptor that went to my church. And I'm fascinated by artists, but particularly sculptors.
Yes, sir.
Because they can have a finger that go like this. I'm like, how did you chisel that without knocking that off?
Yeah.
So I said, how do you plan out sculpting? And the guy says, that's not how it works, Pastor. I said, what you mean? He said, the problem with you is when you look at that, you see a rock. He said, I don't see a rock. I see an image inside of it that I'm just moving the stuff off of it to get to the image that's inside of it. When you become a Christian, you're a rock, but inside of you is an image. And your life is filled with God removing the rubble that's in front of Christ's image that's inside of you. That's the Christian life.
Epiphany Fellowship Church, your vitamin E church. and maybe supplement what you may not be getting from your local church with some of the theology and paradigms of thought that are coming from Dr. Eric Mason. I love you guys. Until next time, peace.